Do you remember when you were a child, you'd look out the window on a cold winter night, look at the stars, the beauty of the stars. They twinkle, they flash. You'd see the moon, perhaps, glowing through the haze, barely visible through the clouds and the fog. But you knew that you were looking at something bigger than yourself, magnificent. And it was one of the first things you ever learned, one of the first little songs you learned for your age. When you wish upon a star. And then suddenly you would see that first star ignite, and it would say something like, "Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I might have the wish I wish tonight." I only bring this up because maybe it would remind you of your childhood days. But more importantly, just a few moments ago, a child somewhere in the Czech Republic looked through his hazy, dark window, probably 200-300-year-old glass. He saw that first star, and he wished upon it. And his wish came true. You see, that little Czech child wished for the Brad Stine Show. Oh, boy. You know, I am so grateful. It is Monday and it's the Brad Stine Show. I have just gotten back this morning from Denver, Colorado, which means it's going to take me at least another 36 hours for the oxygen levels to return to my body. Because if you've ever been in the Mile High City, they ain't kidding. The first thing they do when you reach there is give you scuba gear that you can actually rent at the airport so that you can breathe and survive walking up 2 steps. Not 2 flights of steps, just 2 steps, because Denver has no air. So anyways, I was there for the whole weekend. It was wonderful. I was at Grace Church in Arvada with Pastor Rick Long, a friend of mine, a good friend and pastor, and he wanted to say hi to you guys. They also want to say hi to Christian Podcast Central, who is the sponsor of tonight's Brad Stine Show. They were also the ones that produced and created the Brad Stine Has Issues shows, of clips of which I've shown you, and something that I'll try to revive here on the Brad Stine Show as time goes on and we get more sophisticated. I'm also want to be grateful and thankful for Glockstore.com, another sponsor for another month or two for the Brad Stine Show. And then we will see what happens after that. But anyways, I had a great time. I spent Saturday night what would we call it? Laugh speaking, edutainment, laughter, and my spiritual teaching on Saturday. And then Sunday, 3 services, 8, 10, and 12. And then Sunday night at 6 p.m. with Jonathan Chiliafaro. We did the Spirit of America tour that is going to be launched in 2022. What is the Spirit of America tour? It is actually Jonathan Chiliafaro, who you can look up on the internet, a well-known opera singer and a immigrant legally to the United States from Italy, and me performing comedy that lifts up God and loves America unapologetically, fighting diligently to say I will never ever apologize for this great nation, and I will take to task all those who enjoy the benefits of those who've died for this nation, only to put it down. That cowardice, that childishness, that nonsense can only be stopped when those people are taken to another country and forced to live there for 10 years. And then when they want to come back, we'll make them beg. But that's just me. I just get frustrated at people that are ungrateful for something that they've never had to earn and they'll never appreciate, and they simply don't deserve. Yes, that's right. I believe you should deserve and earn things that are great and good. And especially the Americas, because the United States is the greatest nation in human history. And if it dies, it will be the death of the only greatest nation in human history, because there'll never be freedom like this again, not if there's no America. But before we get started, I got some great show ahead of you. We're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving that just passed and the Indians that are complaining that it really should be a mourning time because of land that was circumvented from them. We're also going to have your questions. I thought this would be a great time. It's the last Brad Stine show of November and the last show of November in 2021. So I thought, let's have your questions. So I want you guys to think up questions about me. It can be about my comedy. It can be about Wyatt. It can be about my teaching, how I see the world, spiritual things, conservative ideas, whatever interests you, things you want to know about me. And I'll do my best to answer it, and we will have a actual live personal interaction between you guys. And I'm also going to be interviewing my good friend, America's Constitution coach, Rick Green, who also puts on Patriot Academies in state houses throughout the nation for teens from high school and college, teaching them on conservative values, the Christian heritage of America, and how to get into politics and take back freedom and liberty in America. So Rick Green will be my special guest as we will speak to him today. We are trying to build this studio, as you guys have done over the months, so that I can get my next purchase will be another camera, lens, and tripod, and then probably a teleprompter, so that I can also open these programs with Brad Stine Has Issues type monologues, and then of course we'll have guests, so I'm also have to get another mic. So that's where we're going. And what I thought I would be very important to remember is it's almost the end of the year. For those who would like a tax deduction before the year is over, I will be giving you these no wussies shirts that we will be donating. There are going to be $55 donations that you'll get to. But they're great Christmas presents if you have a conservative or Christian man or woman in your life. I'll be happy to sign it and personalize it to the person you tell me to, and I'll send it to them. It can be a great Christmas gift. $55, that's more than a shirt's worth, but I am signing it, I am personalizing it, and I will send it to them. And it's a donation that gives you tax deferral for the rest of the year, and it goes to building the next studio camera and so forth, so we can have the live guests, which will be coming soon. Anyways, Wyatt, I want to say hi to some of my friends here. And listen, let's start by saying hi to my sidekick, my confidant, my right-hand man, my Lowe's employee, and my son, Wyatt Stine. Wyatt, are you here?
Yeah. I like how son was the last part of that.
You want to move your mic towards your face.
You know what? I like it where it was.
My tech expert had the mic like this.
Excuse
me.
Hey,
Dad, how are you?
I'm trying to.
People having a hard time listening? Why are people saying that it sounds like my voice is coming through my skull?
I'm trying to fix your live stream. Excuse me for not worrying about the mic right now.
Okay, here we go. Where are we at? All right. Hey, look who's number one. Need I ever ask? Will Nick Kress beat everybody to the punch? He does every stinking day. Wyatt, have you figured out why Nick Kress wins every stinking first to say hello bout?
I really don't. We've had so many theories, so many ideas. It's magic. It has to be magic.
He must be a magician. Or could he be a genie? Are there such a thing as male genies, or are they just girls? Do you know? Or are they both?
I mean, what about the genie from Aladdin?
Genie from Aladdin but that was a cartoon. See how my son does?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I picked the fake genie as opposed to the real one.
Exactly. Hey, Amber King said, hello, Brad and Wyatt. I always like it when they throw in Nick's there. Sending prayers from Michigan from Corley, Madison. I can use all the prayers I can get, Corley. How about you, Wyatt? Can you use some prayers?
Yeah, I can definitely use some prayers.
Okay, what could they pray for you for, son? And it didn't sound very enthusiastic. I'm sure God's sitting there going, maybe I'm not even going to answer your prayer if that's the way you think about it.
My prayer is...
Yeah.
For this thing I've been trying to do.
What is it?
30 minutes to actually function.
Okay, well listen, Benjamin Gregory's there. Hey buddy, Thomas Bywater, Steve Whaley, Rebecca Daly Dwyer's here from Bellefonte. She's here all the time. Desi Wilhelm's here a lot. Paula Faye, Marie Rouchy. Still need one more name. Cryamine. She's always stops at 4. Wyatt, why doesn't she grab a couple more? Sheesh. Hey, there's love from Texas from Brian Todd Seipert. Rebecca's there. Hello, Wyatt. Rebecca says hello to you, Wyatt. Hello from Beaverton, Oregon. Barbara also. I always feel so sorry for Barbara because she's stuck in Oregon. Huntsville, Texas. Here, Andy Klein. Marcia Pointer Reeds, Ohio. Howdy from Missouri. She's here. Hi, Brad from Clovis and Wayne, Michigan. Hey. Hey, here again behind Nick, and that would be somebody, Force Bainey. Kendra Page is hello. Roger Giggle, good evening from Wriggle, I'm sorry. Hi, Brad and Wyatt from Waterville, Massachusetts. That's James Lyons. Nancy Price is joining. Hi, Brad and Wyatt from Louis Leon. This show gives me something to look forward to on Mondays. I love it. Thank you, Dusty. Dusty gets excited on Monday nights. You know what gets him excited on Monday nights, Wyatt?
Is there anything to be excited about on Monday nights?
Brad Stine Show.
Oh, man, I meant besides the obvious.
That was too obvious. All right, he's happy. Benjamin's there. There's Christian Podcast Central. Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Very well done, James. You must know that I got certified in the Cayman Islands. What is it, Wyatt? What are you excited? My son did this. And that's very difficult for him to do because he's not really strong. So for him to get him all the way over his head is quite a feat. What happened?
Actually, it's hard because my head is about 3 inches away from the roof.
Well, the roof is at a pitch. What did you do that was so exciting?
Check your YouTube, my friend.
Am I on YouTube, folks? We're doing it.
YouTube.
Not only are we streaming our Facebook Live, who knows, 50th episode, but we're now on YouTube Live too. We're grabbing another couple, hopefully thousands. I've got about 7,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. We're going to blow up. I'm telling you guys, you're going to create a show that we are going to make worldwide. And it is The Brad Stine Show, which is comedy, conservatism, and Christianity combining in a cacophony of clarity. That's what this is. It's a show unlike any others, I hope, and we'll continue to try to grow and get unique all the way down. Who else is out there? Try going to Cheyenne, Wyoming. It's a 1.5 mile night. Well, guess what, Roger Wriggle? I'm going to be in Cody, Wyoming this Saturday. So take that. You can come see me live if you have the guts. Let's see. Kendra Page is asking a question. Stupid question. How do we overcome the hypocrisy in the church? Starts by learning how to spell hypocrisy. What? I'm just saying.
It's just that even though I wasn't watching the chat and I had no idea what they said, I knew what you were going to say next.
Okay. Hey, listen, Kendra Page Davis said this. How do we overcome the hypocrisy in the church? All I see in churches here, and I love Jesus, but I'm struggling to find a church. Well, first thing, Kendra, is we don't know where you are. But I just scrolled over her name, and magically it showed up. She's from Conway, Arkansas. Can't find a church there. Well, listen, here's what you need to understand about, and this is the first question, Wyatt.
Yeah.
I asked for questions. This is the first one.
Yeah.
First thing you need to understand about the hypocrisy in the church. There is hypocrisy in the church. There's hypocrisy in the Vatican. There's hypocrisy in the best church you can ever find, and there's hypocrisy in the worst church you can ever find. If you find the most heretical, woke, leftist, completely lost their mind, progressive, not even Christian, just uses the term, but it's long gone, church, they'll have hypocrites. And you have the most committed Bible-believing, God-fearing pastor, and there'll be hypocrites in there. Do you know why there's hypocrisy in every single church you go to? Because the one problem every single church has, and they all have them, they're all contain this one horrific problem. They contain
people.
That's right. See, as long as human beings exist, and as long as human beings go to do something and stand for something and believe in something, they will be failures at times. They will be hypocrites at times. And remember, hypocrisy really needs to be defined not as that somebody tries to do something and fails. That's just being human. Hypocrisy is when you don't actually believe what you say you believe, or you hold people to a different standard you don't hold yourself to. But if it's simply you watch people who are not perfectly Christian in the way they behave based on what they say they believe, that's just the human condition. Remember, the Bible says you're supposed to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. So it's a constant battle, a constant fight to try and reach the best you can to get as close to Jesus and be like him as you can be. Not an easy task. Wyatt, are you like Jesus?
In what regards?
Like, can you walk on water or turn water into wine?
Can I walk on water briefly?
Okay.
A few nanoseconds.
All right,
until I sink.
so my son is really wise, and he's saying, because he does try. He tried it on the pool, and he walked for about a sack, and then he fell down.
I mean, due to the electromagnetic force between the atoms of the water on your feet, there is technically a slight repulsion.
So how much time would you say you actually hovered?
Less time than you'd actually think.
Would it be a second?
Oh, but if we could walk on water for a second, I promise you we'd be doing it a lot more often.
Let's say you could do it a microsecond. Guess what? That means you're a microsecond like Jesus.
I don't think that's really the unit of measure you'd use to quantify Jesus.
Okay, Brian Todd Cypress, if one lives in Denver, they might as well be a chain smoker. Laugh out loud, same difference. Hey, look who's back. Carrie Tudor. She's here from Kinsman, Ohio. Let's see. Pray for God to have someone invite you to go to church. You should go. It works. All right. Let's see. If you haven't seen The Spirit of America, oh yeah, well you can actually see it live. That's very good. I'm surprised you found that. But if you go to you can see a part of what Spirit of America looks like if you go to Grace Church from Arvada and go on their Facebook page, Grace Church in Arvada, and they still have it up where they live stream it. You can see what it looks like. If you want to see what's coming to you, a neck of your woods live this next year, 2022. Jason Koppenhaver's here, and also Brian Todd Seipert. Brad, tell us a story again about when you visited Winnipeg. Funny stuff. Well, that wasn't really a story as much as it turned into a comedy routine because it was super, super cold when I went to Winnipeg. Now, let me tell you one thing I should say. I was in Winnipeg, and I had been in cold weather before. Why, you ever been in cold weather?
Yeah, I've experienced the cold.
What's the coldest weather you've ever been in?
The coldest weather I've ever been in, probably nothing compared to what you've been through.
I didn't ask you that. I said, what's the coldest weather you've ever been in? Can you think of it?
Just probably in Tennessee before it was, started getting not so cold. Remember when it used to snow here?
Yeah, what happened?
I miss that.
Okay, he misses snow. So, I went to Winnipeg. It was in the 90s. It was one of the first times I began to work into decent clubs, comedy clubs, when I was on the comedy club circuit. And I was in Winnipeg, Canada. And I'd worked there probably 3 or 4 times over the years, and always loved going there. But I went in January once. It was the first time I was there. We're at this hotel, and the news tells you, do not go outside because it's 70 below. Now, what they said was that if you do, you will begin, your skin will begin to freeze in 2 minutes. Now, the sun was out. We're not talking about some kind of, snow flailing around. It wasn't some kind of blizzard. It literally, the sun was out. It was just kind of sharp and crisp, but there was not really blowing or whatever. And I kind of went out there, and it was kind of chilly, but it's like, the sun's like, it's not really, what are they talking about? And I decided to go for a little walk. I wanted to go, I don't remember what I was doing, maybe going to get something to eat. I don't remember. But I started walking. I go, you know what? It's cold, but it doesn't really feel nearly as bad as what they're saying. What is wrong with these people? I mean, I live in California, and these guys live here, and they're acting like big babies. I'm walking around, I'm happy. Didn't have anything on my face whatsoever. Walking down, and maybe 30, 40 seconds into the walk, I go, yeah, it's a little, cold out, I guess, and my skin feels a little, getting a little cold, but it's not so, and I kept walking, and suddenly I'm like, okay, it feels a little hot sensation on my skin. It's a little, and suddenly I'm like, okay, I'm walking, and I'm like, okay, is it possible that from the moment I left that stoop and walked out here, it feels as though perhaps my face is splitting into pieces? Is that normal? Is that some? And I went from it's a little uncomfortable to it's very shards of glass are being shoved into my face to I've got to find the nearest quick door and jump in, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a strip club. I don't care if it's a woman's bathroom. I don't care if it's an open sewer. I've got to get out of here. And I had to rush into a bank or whatever it was, and but it was rough. Wyatt, I thought I was going to lose my face. And you know where the worst place you can lose your face is, don't you?
Facebook?
Japan.
Oh.
They hate to lose face. So what else is out there? Let's see if we can find it.
I was going to say Facebook, because at that point it's just book.
It's good. It's good.
It's not even Facebook anymore, is it?
Yeah, Andrew George said we should put some skits in the show too. What do you think?
That'd be great. When are we going to do that? When are you going to work on that, huh?
You know what we really got a problem with?
What?
Karen Boyd.
What do they do this
She
time?
says, unfortunately, I can't see the video yet again. I've gone on to other live streams and they play just fine. Not sure what it's called. Buffering? I can only hear every fifth or sixth word. Well, here's the good news, Karen. The only words that have any value in my show are usually the fifth or sixth word. That's the good news. The rest of it is just fluff. Wyatt, do you concur?
Yeah, it's really just something, it's a little technique that you learn when you're doing streaming to help pad out the length of the video.
Amen. Hey, you know, Carrie Tudor said Wyatt still sounds British.
I mean, I'll take British. It's not a bad place for people to think you're from.
You're right. All right. Well, here's one. Here's one from Dusty Wilhelm. Hey, Dusty. Good to have you, Dusty Wilhelm. He said, how long does it take between comedy specials? How long does it take before you get the idea for the next special? Hope that made sense. Dusty, let me make this very clear. That made no sense. Wyatt, can you discern that? I need you to be my Ewan interpreter.
So I think what they're saying is...
Okay, and it's not a there, it's a he.
I wasn't paying attention.
On the other hand, he might have his personal pronoun as there, so maybe you would just try to be sensitive.
I use that as a gender neutral term to signify that I literally was not paying attention at that point.
Perfect.
That was the only part that I missed.
All right, so here's what he said. I'll try it again and see if you can discern this, because I don't know how old Dusty is. Maybe he's your age, and if he is, then only you would understand this. How long does it take between comedy specials? In other words, and then he has in parentheses, how long does it take before you get the idea for the next special? Hope that made sense.
So basically, I think by special he means like your DVD like recording things.
Oh, okay.
So I think what he's asking is, when do you get the idea for your next DVD?
Oh, so he used special to throw me off this trail.
Well, because you know, like Netflix specials and stuff, right?
Right.
Oh, that's just basically a DVD that you do, but it's on Netflix. I think that's what he means.
Are you saying that I'll never make it to Netflix?
I'm saying your odds aren't good, son.
Son, do I not have the goods? Is that what you're telling me?
You have the talent.
Okay.
You have the notoriety.
Okay.
You just don't have Netflix, basically.
Good point. Well, listen.
Like they ain't going to be for you.
I'm going to do my best and try to answer his question, because I said it was going to be questions from you guys this evening, because I wanted you to participate and know that I care about what you guys do and say and think, and I want to participate. Don't forget, by the way, no wussy shirt, $55. Tell me, all you have to do is say, I want one. We'll send you a link. You just show me that you have put 55. It's 55 because I got a case $5 to mail it. And then tell me, where do you want me to mail it? Who do you want me to mail it to? And it will be your Christmas gift, but I'll personally sign it. So, $55. We're trying to raise a couple $1,000 more to reach our goal of $7,500 so we can get the camera and everything. Anyways, this is your last month to get a tax break in 2021 and a Christmas gift, and to help build the studio so we can move into 2022 even more robustly. All right, so here's what go ahead.
So let me get this straight here. So this is a fans ask questions stream.
Yeah.
Because why exactly?
What do you mean?
Why did you say that this was going to be primarily just answering questions?
Because I thought it would be interesting for my people. What's wrong with that?
That's a really odd way of saying I couldn't think of anything to talk about this week. Just saying, you might need to work on your enunciation.
That's totally not true. I literally wanted to give my people a chance to interact with their hero, Brad Stine. You laugh if you must, son. I'm doing the best I can.
Well, yeah, they wanted to interact with you with their hero, but I guess you'll have to do.
Right. Well, you know what? It's because you won't show your face, so I figure they're stuck with me.
Hey, cough up the dough and we can do that. Come on.
Hey, maybe that's what we should do before the year's out. We'll have the biggest bidder, and the biggest bidder for seeing Wyatt's face.
Is that ethical?
I don't know.
Or legal?
That sounds horrifying, actually, doesn't it? But who knows? Well, anyways, so let me answer your question. So how long does it take? I think what you're telling me is how long does it take to build another hour's worth of material? I think I've told you guys this before, but years ago I read that George Carlin used to say that he tried to build 2 minutes a week. That was his goal. Now, he's George Carlin, so he could tour as much as he wanted. He could work as many times as he wanted, and he'd get plenty of people to show up. So he could probably work 6, 7 shows or more a week. So 2 minutes a week of really working something out. By the end of the year, he would have about 60 minutes that he was comfortable with, and that's what became his next HBO special. So that I always remember that and thought about that. So the thing that I have tried to say to people before who are interested in comedy is how difficult comedy is. Because here's the thing about comedy. I've told people this before, Wyatt. See if you can tell me what I'm about to say. What makes comedy different than the other performing arts?
I do not recall you ever answering me that question.
Yeah, I did. It's just you weren't paying attention because, well, you're my son.
I'm trying to find the wrenches, dude. What else do you want from me?
Oh, my God. Did you find wrenches today?
I think so. Crescent, not the
okay.
Not the other ones.
All right. Did you figure out how to open them yet?
Look, baby steps, okay? We'll get there when we get there.
It's the little wheel.
Oh, I thought that was for like traction.
No, or scratching your back. No, it actually opens the crescent mouth face. They call it the mouth face. In case you want to be used, like next time you get a customer that asks about the crescent wrench, you say, "Are you talking about one with a larger mouth face?" I just want to make sure you use the proper terminology.
That's what they meant. I gave them the weirdest look this today when they told me that, because I'm like, "What are you talking about,
right.
Mouth face?"
Right. Now, of course, it really isn't that. I just wanted him to say that so he'd look like an idiot. Ha! Oh. And then I could record it and we'd play it next week. Anyways. Okay. I find that the most difficult thing about comedy in the performance arts, it's the only, I know you've heard me say this, it's the only performance art I know of, and my son plays drums and has played in bands and big concerts many times over the years, so he knows what it's like to be in front of a crowd. The only performance art I know of that you have to rehearse in front of your audience. Why? Because comedy joke doesn't work until the audience tells you it does. How about that? See, it's funny because, to a musician, he just says, I like this song, I'm doing this thing, I'm putting it out there, people like it, great. If they don't, I don't care, I made my art. To a comedian, you got to get up there, you got to tell a joke. And if they don't laugh, I don't care how bad you like that joke, it sucked. Because the people will laugh or not, and they will tell you if you came up with something funny. Now, granted, if they're fans of yours, they're going to give you a little break. If they're fans of yours, they're probably going to give you a few minutes when you first get up there because they're excited to see you live, and they're going to laugh at everything you say. But over time, they do expect you to deliver the goods. That's what they paid the big money for. Wyatt, the last time I charged, you know what I charged? 2 hens, beads, and a braided blanket.
Wow, times must have been tough.
Times are real tough, yeah. I just felt like I wanted to just make it what I called my Pilgrim's Progress and make a sense of a recommendation of barter in case we have to return to that. As long as Biden keeps things going with the economy, we'll be bartering. What
kind of blanket was it? Like Navajo?
It was.
Yeah. Navajo. Navajo's good.
They are, yeah. But I have found that I don't get oftentimes to work as often. See, when I was in comedy clubs, it was the best because it would usually be a Tuesday through Saturday, 2 shows on Saturday, 2 on Friday, sometimes into Sunday. Gave me plenty of work because, as I've told you guys this before, when I'm in front of a comedy club audience, I can be very creative, very extemporaneous because they let me do anything I want. Not that I compromise my faith or curse or doing that stuff, but churches aren't as apt to allow you to experiment and to find your way along the path of searching the best way to formulate a joke and get the right words or take the right words apart, get the right rhythm, take it apart, add pieces of information until you finally lock something in. For example, last night, and you can see it on, if you go to the Grace Church Arvada Facebook and look it up, you can see Spirit America. It's an hour and a half. And you can see what I did. But I have a whole routine I'm doing about Corona and the masks and so forth. And it will be on, by the way, my next album, I'm hoping. But it was such a hot crowd. It was a sold-out crowd. It was 1,500 people. And they were just digging it so much, and they were laughing, and they were just loving me so much. It was so fun that just, you don't get that all the time, but it was a perfect energy that it allowed me to begin to experiment off the cuff. And I added last night a piece to that puzzle that I haven't done the whole time. That's perfect, that I'm going to now be part of the show. It came from the live performance. Something beautiful happened, and I'm sticking it in there. So if you really want to see that, and I'm only telling you guys because you're my fans and you're my friends and you come up to my show, so I'm giving you insight. You go to this show, you go to Arvada Grace Church, Arvada Facebook, and you go look up that. You can actually see the workings of my next album. I'm not going to tell anybody else that stuff's going to be in there, but you can go see it first. This is good because I want to talk about Mock the Corona, the Mask, and everything else will be on my next album. So the moment that I have finished a 1 hour routine, it has been filmed. The moment that I then take that footage and I let the editor make a first pass, then I look at it and I go say, take that out, speed that up, remove that word. That section from 103 to 113, that was wasted time. That didn't make sense. Cut that out. So I begin to edit it and make it a perfect set. And then they do that and they send it back to me. Say, yeah, fix that, do that. Can you make that word better? Can you fix that? And I finally do the final edit. They send it back. I finally say yes. I check off on it. It's done. It's in the can. Print it, so to speak, in old parlance of Hollywood. The second that's done, I have a photo shoot. That's how we get our album cover. Then I have to come up with the names of all the routines. I don't sit there and name my routines necessarily, but I will come up with the name, try to find the time code where they fit so I can put them on the back of the jacket. And we get all that put together. And once all those pieces are put together, the moment we can say it's done, send it out, and they print them and press them, and I have a brand new album. That second, I don't want to do that material ever again. That second is when I'm saying I'm ready for my next special. And that's when I begin to do this. I have my special that just dropped. It's the album that is now here. Unapologetical is my latest. I go up on stage and I begin to create the next album. Now, how do I do that? The hardest thing for me, and the most important thing, at least the way I do it, is the opening routine and the closing routine. The opening routine has to grab their attention. It has to be funny. It has to be quick. It has to immediately draw them in. It has to immediately give people who are fans of mine a taste of, there's Brad Stine. He's back, and that's what he does. I love this new stuff. If they're not fans, they're just coming on for the first time, they get to say quickly, I see who he is. He's going to be funny, or I don't. I'm clicking on. Or they say, oh, he's going to be good. Oh, he's going to be great. And those first couple minutes drag them in and bring them into my taste, my flavor, my voice, and then we start moving down the road. So the first couple minutes of just opening up, getting the laughs, getting it started, getting the momentum going, that's the hard part. You need that first. Then I want the closing piece, because you hopefully can try to find a piece that if you close, people will applaud. You want something that will be kind of a ovation-y, like, good night, everybody. You're looking for that. So that closing piece that ends the show with a bang, and that opening piece that gets them started, you want those, and then you fill in the middle with everything else. So I will take what I got, and then I will immediately start trying to come up with a new opening that will work. And once it does, I do as much as I can about that, and then I immediately go to the last album I just did, because that's material that I know works, and that becomes that. And then over time, I just keep moving more material in and moving the last album material out until they start getting half and half. Or I might even throw in some old material from other albums now and again, just because I feel like doing it, or something happens and something comes up and it reminds me of a joke I did back then, and I'll bring up an old routine. But little by little, I'm just taking the pieces out once a routine works, and I take the old piece out, and it grows and grows, and then I have 30 minutes, and I have 40 minutes, and next thing I know, once I get about 60 minutes, and it's tight, and it's solid, and it works, then I go film it. I try to do at least 2 shows the same night in the same outfit, so that I can edit the best of the 2 together to make the best show I can, and that's how I come up with a new special. It really is can be done as quickly as the amount of shows I can get under my belt to work out the material. So if I could do 200 shows a year, I'd have a new special every year. But I don't usually get that many, so it's a lot more difficult. So Wyatt, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, we actually have some from the YouTube side as well.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's not forget them.
Well, it's not YouTubies, guys. We got YouTube. What are they saying?
All right, just wondering your thoughts on censorship. To me, cancel culture of today seems to miss the fact that they are using repression to battle against being oppressed, and that was by Wicked Good.
Listen. I want that guy censored. I want him off my YouTube channel immediately. Get him immediately off my channel.
Let's see what's the ban button. Now there it is.
Exactly. Well, listen, what do I think about censorship? Do you really have to ask? There is nothing to ask. Censorship is evil. It steals our freedoms and our liberties. But as I have said on many occasions, whoever controls the words of a people control the people. And that's why this is absolutely crucial that comedians, if anybody should be able to speak, it should be everybody. But comedians are the last final bastion of people who are supposed to be able to make fun of the king, not get their head cut off. I tell you this every time. We're the ones that are supposed to break the taboos, say the unsayable, mock the unmockable, make fun of the unfunnable, make fun of the wheelchair guy, make fun of the black guy, make fun of the fat guy, make fun of the white guy, make fun of the short guy, make fun of the president, make fun of the women, make fun of the men, make fun of the babies. We have to make people realize don't take life so stinking serious. And even things that are serious, our job is to make you laugh at them so you can endure them. That's the point. That's the beauty. It's our First Amendment right, and it was given to us on purpose. And I've told you this before. The first line of the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion or forbidding the first... forbidding the free exercise thereof. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm tired. I've been jet lagged. Is the first line of the First Amendment. Now, the rest of the free speeches are very important, too. Very important, because they give us the ability to redress our government, not get shot. The ability to make sure that the government can't come in and censor or edit the press when it's trying to do things. We're allowed to protest as long as it's peacefully. All those things are important, but the first line is our religious freedom, which you might think, well, what are you saying? You're just Christian, so you care about that. No, because it's really the freedom of your conscience. If you're an atheist, respect that first religious liberty, because that's your religion. If you're a polytheist, if you're a pantheist, if you're a deist, if you're a ventriloquist, whatever the ist you are, thank God for the First Amendment that says you're allowed to thank God freely in public, more importantly than private. Anybody can do anything in private. Who cares? You got to be able to do it in public with taxpayer dollars if the people choose. Remember this, and remember it well. The First Amendment did not state that you could not have government or tax dollars going to religious elements. You could, and the founders did it, and it happened for hundreds of years. Why do I think that's important? Because it needs to be done only if the community says we want it that way. We want a school building that uses public funds, but we want a Christmas nativity scene. You could do that. You are allowed to do that. And if you don't want, you don't have to. The only thing the First Amendment forbids is that Congress makes a law about it. That's when it was unconstitutional. That's been completely upended by Supreme Court justices who are stupider than me. They did it because they hated Catholics. That's how it started. A Catholic voucher to allow a bus system to go to a Catholic parochial school. Judge Blackmun, who was, I think it was Blackmun, I hope I'm not getting that wrong, he was a former Ku Klux Klan member, hated Catholics, wanted to make sure Catholics didn't get any tax break money. They went and found the letter written by Thomas Jefferson to the Anabaptists in Connecticut, and from that we got the word separation of church and state. The entire letter was written to the Anabaptists to make sure they would know that the government would never intrude in anything the religious people wanted to do. There would be a separation of church and state, that the church would never have to worry about the intrusion of the government, and that has been turned on its head to say that we're not allowed to have any religious elements into the culture. All backwards, all lies, all nonsense, all anti-constitution, a complete and utter reversal of the freedoms. And once those freedoms went, Once those freedoms went, every one of them fell after that. Wyatt, now that I'm thinking about it, we're talking about the Constitution. Let's bring in Rick Green, our Constitution coach. If you don't know Rick Green, he works with wall builders, with David Barton's ministry that talks about the Christian heritage of America, as well as the Founding Fathers and what the original intent of the Constitution was. So he's with them. He's with Patriot Academy, I said, where he teaches people from all over our nation about our values and our history as Americans. But I go to front sight with him. We shoot 600 to 800 rounds. It's the best course in civilian training if you are a carry permit holder. And I recommend all my people to learn to shoot, fire, and carry guns with you at all times to defend yourself and protect yourself in case you ever need it, especially against totalitarian intrusion. That's really what the Founding Fathers said the Second Amendment would do. It's why I talk about it. If that ever gets censored, then you know you're dealing with a communist or Marxist who's running the show. And that's what I want you to be aware of. Wyatt, I want you to get ready to play this. I'm now going to give you the interview from Rick Green, and I think you'll get some really interesting information about the Founding Fathers. Were they actually Christians? Let's run it. Go, Wyatt. Hey, guys, it's God's Comic Brad Stine, as I said earlier. And we're back with Brad Stine Has Issues, my special edition, because I always like to throw in now and again your daily constitutional, which kind of flushes you of all the junk you got in your head and restores all the good nutrients you need by understanding the Constitution. And who better to administer that information, that B12 shot, than your Constitution coach, Rick Green. Rick, how's Dripping Springs? How's Texas? And how is your Sig Sauer?
Which one?
Whichever one you got on right now, my brother.
One of the many. Yeah. No, it's all going great, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I love doing this with you.
Good. Well, listen, and by the way, I had a great time with you at Front Sight. If you guys don't know about Front Sight, you want to learn how to really handle a handgun as a citizen, this is the place to go. It's unbelievable. And we might even have some deals here later where we can invite them to go with us. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today, and this is a little bit off topic because, as you know, I always bring you on about the specific amendments, about the specific constitutional ideas, even the Declaration, even our heritage and all these things. They're not crucial, important. But there's something that people kept asking me about and sending me letters and commentary when I could get through the trolls and the hate mail. And they said...
You don't get any... You never say anything that's offensive or...
No.
That's even controversial. I mean,
No.
you're always pansy, just fluffy, perfuming it up. I mean, I can't imagine you ever having a troll that's
I can't. I know.
You
How could you not love me? Seriously, I love me.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. One of the many, and I get a handful, and I'm sure you do too, since this is your specialty. I'm sure you get a lot of the same questions asked over and over. But one that I have heard of a billion times, but I think they're important. They ask me about the Founding Fathers because I always say I'm an originalist. You know, I'm not it's not even conservative or whatever Republican. Originalist when it comes to the Constitution. I want what the founders originally intended, because let's face it, they must have done something right. Because they created the greatest nation in human history. They created a constitution that more other countries copied. I don't know if that's still the case, but there was a time when that was the most copied constitution. So they did something unprecedented. But they're old. That was 250 years ago. Obviously, different culture, different time. They didn't know what the future would hold. They didn't know what technology would create. They didn't know the types of things that could happen to a free nation. They didn't know how big we could get. I mean, they didn't even have, there was no Louisiana Purchase yet. There was no Western. I mean, they had no idea how big this country was going to get and how many people could show up. I mean, the amount of people in the United States are probably more than existed on Earth when they were alive. I don't know. If not, I'm sure somebody will tell me I'm an idiot. But anyways, there's a bunch of people in America. The Founding Fathers, why do they matter? Why should we give a crap about what these guys, dead white guys, as people always say, said 250 years ago that could possibly be considered important and relevant to 2019?
Yeah, you're right. I get that question too, because we quote the founders so much, or we'll say the founders' view was, or this is what the founders intended. And because we say that, sometimes people say, well, who cares? I mean, why does it matter what they said? They're not alive today. What do we think is best today? Well, I got two answers to that question, Brad, and you've already touched on one of them, and that is, man, they did something right. I mean, these guys produced the most successful, most powerful, most benevolent nation in the history of the world. Why do we read biographies? Why do we read successful people? I mean, why would you read, if you're in business, Why would you read Carnegie or Rockefeller or Steve Jobs or any of those guys? Why do you read? Because you want to know what works. You want to know what the formula is that produces the result you're trying to get. Well, a nation does not become free by accident. They don't become powerful by accident. They don't become benevolent. They don't have good laws and they don't have any of those things by accident. There is something, there's a cause producing that. There's a formula producing that. And Bob McEwen says it very well when he describes a nation not getting those results unless it has a formula that produces those results. And I agree with him. So how did we get those results? We had a formula that produced that. Well, who gave us the formula? Because if we want to know how the formula truly works, we have to go ask the folks that put the formula together. How do we do that if they're dead, if they've 200 years ago? We go read their writings. We go read their correspondence. We go read the debates at the Constitutional Convention, at the state. We get inside their heads. And the reason it's important what was inside their heads is because we want to know if things are different now and we need to tweak our system, then we don't want to tweak it in such a way that messes up the fundamental principles that actually produce all the good things that we want. So it's important for us to study what they were actually thinking, study what they put in place so that we can keep the good pillars of prosperity and freedom in place. The second reason we study them, not just because they did a good job in producing not perfect, we got all those things, but definitely the most successful the world has ever known. But the other reason is because if we disagree, Brad, on what the Constitution means, if the Constitution is the law of the land, if the Constitution is the governing document of America, then we're going to have disagreements at times on how that Constitution should be applied to what's happening in our world. Well, the only proper way to determine what the Constitution actually means is to go back and look at those debates that put it in place. Because if the words could mean different things today, they meant the same thing to everybody back then, but it's 200 years later. Basic words in the Constitution mean different things today than what they meant back then. And so we're going to debate today what it means. Well, the only proper way to figure out what it means is to go back and get inside the heads of those guys that actually gave it to us. That's why you always say, I'm an originalist. That's why I always say original intent. Because if you don't do that, Brad, here's what happens. And Madison actually said this. I'm sorry to quote a founder when we're trying to determine whether or not we should listen to the founders. But he actually said, if you don't go back to the original intent of the Constitution, there's no stability in the nation. It's all like finger to the wind, whatever's popular at the time. In fact, today, whatever that judge on that court today decides they want the interpretation to be, which means the laws are changing. It means we're on quicksand. It means we're on shifting sand. Original intent of what the Constitution actually meant is the only way that we have a stable and free society. So even if you don't like the founders, even if you disagree with them, it's important to know what they thought so that you know what the Constitution was intended to do. And then if you want to change it, there's ways to do that, and we've done that. But what they thought is vitally, vitally important.
Well, and let me ask you this, because it's one of the things that we hear a lot of, and we don't have a lot of time in this segment, but it's been great information. But I got to ask, because this is the one thing I hear also all the time. The founding fathers weren't Christians. This isn't a Christian nation. They were deists. So can you, in a quick sort of couple minutes left, and be honest, well, I'm not trying to fake this. This is history. It matters. Is that an accurate assessment of the founders? Were they, in fact, mostly deists and or non-Christians, or did that Christianity not, in fact, have anything to do with the success and the worldview of the majority of the founders?
Well, vitally important to always ask when somebody says that, how do you know? Like, what's your measure? How do you know whether the founders were Christians, atheists, agnostics, deists? How do you know what they believe? You read their writings. You go back and look at what they said, what they did, the kind of laws they put in place. And Brad, we've done that. We've got the largest private collection of Founding Fathers documents in the world, over 100,000 documents. We read their originals. And when you look at what they said and did, 95% of the Founding Fathers were outspoken Christians. They lived it, they talked it, they wrote it, they spoke it. It permeated everything in their life. In fact, some historians say Christianity was the atmosphere they were breathing. It so permeated everything that the Bible was the guide to how they lived their lives, their relationships, and how they set up government. And that's why the Constitution is so based on biblical concepts. You can trace clause after clause to a Bible verse that the Founding Fathers said, this is where we got that idea, even separation of powers. That wasn't just Montesquieu in the spirit of the laws. That was Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is evil. No man can know it. So don't give too much power to one person. So, like you said, a couple of minutes, we can't go into a whole lot of detail. I'm just telling you 95%. There's about 10 of the 250 Founding Fathers that I would argue were not quote unquote Christians the way we define that today. But even those 10, Brad, were not atheists. They were not agnostics. They believed in God. They believed in the hand of providence. They believed God was involved in our lives. They didn't believe Jesus to be the Son of God. So I don't put them in the Christian bucket, but 95% do go in the Christian bucket. And then the other 5% go in the kind of, I guess, and you'd probably say they were God-fearing, they were God-conscious, but they weren't Christian. And it wasn't even that they were Muslim or Hindu or a particular other denomination. It was just that they were non-denominational and not didn't adhere to Christianity or any particular religion, but they still believe in God, which is an important distinction, because when God's in the equation, you have more freedom, and they knew that. So anyway, I don't want to go down too far of a rabbit trail there, but I hope that gives you at least a picture of the basic faith of the founding fathers.
The one they usually bring up the most is Thomas Jefferson, because he had that Bible that he took all the miraculous things out and said, I believe kind of in Jesus as a guy, but I don't believe in the miracles. But I hear later in his life, he actually sort of is, if I'm not mistaken, kind of returned more back to traditional Christianity and the way he lived things through. So that was just an era in his life that actually he evolved with. And of course, Benjamin Franklin. But both of those guys.
Yeah, and actually, Brad, I'm going to disagree with you for a second, because Jefferson, there's two Bibles known as the Jefferson.
You're allowed to disagree with me on my show. Didn't I tell you that? There's no freedom of speech here.
Right. No, listen, he did not take out all the miracles and say that he didn't believe that those things happened. That's a misnomer, something that's been really taught by the professors of today. But the two Jefferson Bibles, actually one of them, he took the red letter part of the Bible, Jesus' teachings. He says these are the best teachings ever. And he actually did it like that so that people could easily understand what the gospel was all about. So he just shrunk it down to the actual words of Jesus. And then his other one was actually where he had taken all these different translations of the Bible and cut them out so he could study all these translations at once. We're actually reprinting the quote unquote Jefferson Bible so that people can know this and understand it. But your idea of Jefferson is right. He was like this through his faith part of his life. He believed in Orthodox Christianity at a time in his life. He actually paid for printing of Bibles. He paid for ministers the gospel.
Didn't he start a church in Congress or something?
Church services in Congress, approved church services in Congress, attended church while he was president at the Capitol on federal property. So most of his life, he did believe in Orthodox Christianity. About the last 15 years of his life, he got involved with a guy that really kind of derailed him, and he began to repudiate a lot of the basic tenets of Christianity, like the virgin birth and a lot of other things. So he was kind of up and down in different areas, but during the most important times of his life as a public servant, he was definitely reflecting a more of an Orthodox Christianity. But that's why we don't put our faith in men too, Brad. That's why when we say 95% were Christians, why is that important? Just because it influenced what they did. It influenced where they got their ideas. It doesn't mean they were perfect. It doesn't mean you and I would have agreed.
It doesn't mean they wanted a theocracy either.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate once again your insights. I love what this is all about. I love what people get from this. Remember, bring in the Comedy Constitution Tour to your town. Bring Rick in on his own. Bring me in on your own, whatever. We're just happy to talk about things that matter to us. God, country, and slamming political correctness. That's my favorite. So this has been about the Founding Fathers and what they were about and why they matter. This is God's Comic Brad Stine. And if you hate the Founding Fathers or find them See, everybody, I was a genius. I was talking to Rick Green, America's Constitution coach. He's all over the podcast internet on all the conservative shows, but he's a good friend of mine, good man. But anyways, that was really just, I hope, an interesting conversation with the Founding Fathers, Christianity. What did they really mean? How should you think about the Constitution? Are you an originalist? That's what I always claim to be, an originalist. I care only about how the Constitution was originally intended, not what it has become and what the judges in the Supreme Court have recreated as to what they wanted to interpret it to mean, so it could fit their ideology and worldview. Once a human being gets power, they will use it to get what they want about them. Thanksgiving just came and went, and one of the things that I saw people talking about was that there's now this movement to start everything, even like the Macy's Day Parade, by saying, listen, we just want to honor that there used to be these Indian villages that lived here and these Indian people were here, and we just want to make sure it used to be their land. And we get a lot of that now. And there were some Indians who were saying that Thanksgiving should be a time of mourning because it was where they lost what would have been their territory, their land that they had been on. And, let's face it, let's be very, very clear about this. As a Christian, I have nothing but the truth to give. If I don't give the truth, I'm a failed representative of Jesus. So if the truth hurts, as I've always said, or what I tried to make a segment, a truth ache, I'm going to try to add that to the show. I think what I'm going to have to do, guys, and you tell me what you think about this, I always used you guys as my focus group, because you're the beginning of this show, and if it blows up, you will be the ones that got it here. So I asked you questions. Do you think I should make this show longer? Should I start earlier? What if I started at 6:30 and made it an hour and a half so we have more time to do stuff? Would that be worth it, or is that too long? Just throwing it out there for you guys to tell me. Notice, by the way, I'm wearing my shirt now, so you guys could see what it looks like on. And whoever gives me the most amount of a bid for an auction, over $50, that wants this shirt, it's the Game Warm shirt, I will, like I said, sign it to Joe from so-and-so, Brad Stine, God's Comic, and I'll send it to him, but I'll even wear the one that will always be forever on this episode that I'm wearing. They'll have it. It's a Game Worn shirt, so that's why I wore it, so you guys can see what it looks like. It's kind of got in front of my computer. It messes it up. Also, I'm on Clubhouse. It's an odd new format of connecting where you just listen to people talking to each other. And I'll be that at 8 o'clock. I'm going to go on Clubhouse. It's called The Comedy of Politics. Anyways, it's me with a whole different vibe, connecting with Kevin Jackson and Tim Wilkins and a couple other guys. And we're just trying to talk about the culture at hand and what we see. But what I wanted to tell you was, the idea of the Indians losing their land. I don't have a lot of time. We're running out of time. I only got 4 minutes, but there's something important about that. No, other than the Africans who were brought over here against their will, them and the native Indians definitely got the worst part of this entire experience known as America. There's no question about that, what happened to them. But I want you to make sure that you always make it clear and study and understand all the truth that is either not being given, which is a lie, or is simply being withheld. So keep in mind that were there those who moved across the West, and suddenly these pilgrims and these folks that wanted to move into an area of Texas and Mexico and Oklahoma, New Mexico and Oklahoma, and settlers, and suddenly the Indians would attack and vice versa, right? Did they steal the Indians' land? Well, first off, keep in mind that Indians didn't have this idea of ownership of land. They really just sort of used whatever territory that they were used to giving and participating in. Now, there's certainly something to be said that if I was here first, I kind of get dibs to it, and I have no problem with that. But I want to make something very clear to you. If you believe that some settlers, with the help of the army, took land from the Comanches, make it very clear that you understand that the Comanches took it from the Navajos, who took it from the Apaches, who took it from the Utes, who took it from the whoever else. I don't even know who they are because I don't know all the Indian names. But make it very clear, you need to understand that the Indians of the territories, especially in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Mexico, Texas area, especially the Comanches, were some of the most ruthless people. You need to read this book. I forgot to bring it to you, but I'll try to remember to tell you. But it talks about the Comanches. They were the most fierce warriors of all the Indians. These guys were amazing. They were unbelievable. But the amount of rape, torture they would do to people, their own other Indians they captured, or to the white people they captured. These guys were just brutal, horrifying people, the way they treated their enemies and people they captured. From burying you in an anthill tied up and cutting off your eyelids so the ants could eat your eyeballs, to scalping you, to cutting off the skin of the feet of a man, and then to make him run around and hop around while they laughed at him, and then they all just shot him through with arrows. They were ruthless, cruel people. Do not get this idea that these Indians were these sweet, happy villagers that just built, grew little corn stalks and squash, and their little papooses ran around, and here comes the evil white man. These people slaughtered, raped, killed, and took land from other people. And that's not in any way making excuses for what happened to them or where treaties were broken at all. Not at all. They had some horrible things took place in this nation in regards to their culture. I just didn't want you to think or believe that they were some sort of pure human being. Make it sure that you understand that the Bible says there is none righteous, no, not one. And trust me when I say everybody's got a piece of this puzzle. Everybody's hands have blood on them. I mean, so let's be thankful for this nation. Let's be thankful for a country that has tried to fix things, has tried to make things better. I need you guys, before I leave, I got to go to the clubhouse. He got mad at me when I was late last time. But let me know if you want a link so you can donate and win the shirt. And also let me know if you'd like me to lengthen this show, make it longer. And we are going to continue to try to build this into something that is going to be 10 times better for next year. It's your last month to donate and get your tax write-off, so do your best. God bless you people for coming on. I'll be on next week, and we will have more fun things to do. And it's me, God's Comic Brad Stine, Brad Stine Show. God bless you folks, and Christmas is just starting. Merry Christmas. God bless.